So what are the things that you want to do? Listeners obviously, are then hearing it on a phone through the Bluetooth in their car, or they're listening on lousy earbuds or on a computer speaker at work. What are some of the things that you need to think about in order to try to take that probably suboptimal listening experience and make it as good as you can still make it for the end user?
Well, what you need to do, basically you need to look at and see what kind of programming you're doing. I mean, if you're a talk station, you want to obviously maximize for the voice. A lot of talk stations, obviously you run syndicated programming, so that syndicated programming is compressed once, and now you're going to be putting it through that process again. When it comes to streaming audio, if you have multiple sources, if you have a lot of compressed sources, less is always more. And you can make the audio through a processor like the Aura 8 have a very high average level without sounding like it's overly smashed. It doesn't need to be earth-shatteringly loud like it is on the air. Again, you're dealing with a stream, you're not dealing with someone punching around. Most people who listen to a stream are there for the long term. It's not a cume thing, it's a time spent listening thing, because there's a lot more effort to go and find another stream and change it. So you're looking at people with TSL, you're looking for people sitting in the office and they can be listening to it for a few hours, or in the car on the way to work. So you want to make it so that the audio matches what the codec needs to do, and you also want to make it so that it's enjoyable over a long period of time, that the listener tunes in and stays in.
So let's flip that around. What are some of the advantages? You're not dealing with the pre-emphasis that you've got to deal with on analog FM audio. You don't, I guess sometimes you do have to deal still with PPM encoding.
Right.
So what are some of the advantages of being able to process for a stream, aside from the loudness issue?
Getting rid of the pre-emphasis is a big deal. That's also been a liberating factor in HD broadcasting as well. You're not dealing with the pre-emphasis payload and the audio clipper and trying to manage everything and keep it within the 75 kilohertz deviation that you're allowed. It allows you to be more expressive with the processing. You don't need to hit people over the head with it. It can be, in a lot of ways, you want the processing to be in the background on streaming. A lot of radio stations want people, you punch it in and it jumps out of the radio. With streaming processing, you can have this, very presentable, very easy to listen to sound that is not, just hitting you over the head with it. The processing can actually be secondary, and really should be in a lot of these cases where you're listening to the music, you're listening to the disc jockey or the presenter, and the fatiguing sound of the processing is not something that's part of that equation.
What are some of the things that broadcasters need to think about in terms of source material that's going in to feed a processor for a stream? And I'm thinking here especially about cascading codecs. I work at an NPR station, and when they're getting something in that's coming from overseas and maybe coming in through Skype, and by the time that hits the stream or hits the HD2, it can get awfully ratty. So what are some of the best practices that broadcasters can do to try to prevent that from happening?
Well, we say this to our on-air processing. What's going to come out is only as good as what you're going to go put in. And there are algorithms in our processors that help sometimes mitigate that, especially if you're playing stereo source material that's already been compressed. If you know your sources are going to be compressed audio files from places where you don't have control over the originating material, you're going to want to err on the side of less processing for a more listenable sound. The best way to do on-air and streaming processing is to start with a slate that's completely clean. Any codec audio you put into your processing is going to be magnified by the processor, and the better the processor is, the more those details are going to come out, because processing is detail-oriented. You go out and you spend $12,000 on a new processor and you're feeding it compressed audio. Really, what are you doing to yourself? I mean, you go end to end, making sure that every part of your air chain is good, you have the best processor, you have a clean STL, and you're giving it source material that's less than ideal. Again, I've never heard anyone say, I don't like your radio station, it's not loud enough. I've never heard that.
Mike, thanks for spending some time talking with us about voice processing. What are some other resources people can hit up?
Well, we have a lot of information on our website, wheatstone-processing.com, or you can give us a call right here in Wheatstone. We'll be happy to help you.
Thanks so much.